Let us engross ourselves in you, O Lord God. For Father, I just pray, Father God, that each and every one of us will glean from your word tonight, that we apply it to our lives, and we can share with others, O God. Father, in everything you taught us to give you praise and accolade, and we say, Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu, la'asot b'divrei Torah.
My wife is laughing because I yanked this thing out of my ear because I hear it twice. I hear you, and then I hear it in here. So it's like when we started praying, it was just like, just really loud. So, based on last week, Rabbi asked me to teach bereshit. So, I'm teaching bereshit. Okay, so the Torah reading this week was Noah. The Torah reading for next week is Le'leha, the life of, no.
Le'leha, go forth, I believe.
What is that?
Went forth, I believe.
Let me see. I got it right.
Chapter 12?
Yeah. Le'leha. So, babe, write this down. Don't be asking me on Saturday what day, what we're studying. Le'leha.
Yeah, go forth.
Go forth.
Le'leha.
12:1 through 17:27. That's our reading for next week.
What is it again?
Le'leha.
But I don't know what le'leha is.
To
It
go
means
forth.
Go forth.
But what?
That's your Torah portion for next week.
Genesis?
Genesis. Chapter 12, verse 1 through 17:27. This week says Noah, which means rest. That's chapter 6, verse 9 through 11:32. Rabbi did not ask me to teach on that. He asked me to teach on bereshit. Since he spent all last week teaching on one word, he wants me to teach the rest. So,
Can I ask what word he taught on?
bereshit.
Oh man, that must have been fun.
So Genesis 1:1 through 6:8. I got it recorded, Daniel. I just need to post it.
Please.
So we're going to talk about bereshit. I shared with you last week, Rabbi, even though I shared stuff last week, Rabbi told me to start all over and just share it this week. So I'm going to be rehashing some of the stuff I taught last week, but we're going to go into some other stuff. Genesis is, or bereshit, the first 10 chapters of bereshit is really hard to understand. Truthfully speaking. It's very ancient Hebrew. There's a lot of verbiage that's used that's not understood. So when we actually translate it, we're doing the best we can to translate it. So it's very ancient, it's very old, and then the other thing is it's poetry. Okay? And if you know anything about poetry, poetry is the hardest type of literature to translate. Because you've got things like similes. Beth, what's a simile?
A comparison between two things using like graphs.
You mean the letter Hoff?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
And I'll show, Daniel, for you, I'm going to show you something in Genesis. It's going to show you that it's a poem.
Really? You think so?
I know so.
Really?
Yes.
Cool.
It is an epic poem. We know this by its writing. So a lot of things that we debate out of Genesis 1, that's all it is a debate. Yes, it's just a debate. We can't take it at face value. It's an epic poem. What is Genesis 1's purpose? Yes?
To show that God is everlasting, that He wasn't created, He has always been.
Close.
Creation.
Close. Genesis 1, the purpose of Genesis 1 is to show that God is the creator of all things, and he created all things by the word of his mouth. That's literally the purpose of Genesis 1. Now, Genesis 1 is actually cut off in the wrong place, because the first 3 verses of chapter 2 actually belongs to 1. Okay?
I'd agree with that.
To rehash it from last week, I was talking about how we got verses in chapters. Anyone remember me talking about that?
Priests
No.
made the divisions.
No. The chapters and verses actually comes from Archbishop Stephen Langston. And what he did is he cut them. If you look at Genesis and just go and look at the chapters, they're all between 28 to 30 verses long, with the exception of one chapter, which is actually double, so it would be 2 teachings. He broke down the scriptures so that basically he could read and teach a sermon each week. So that was his reason for doing it. So he had no regard as to the natural flow of the text. All he had regard for was how much can I cover in an hour. Okay? The Parsha division is not natural to the text either. The Parsha was developed in Babylon.
But by the rabbis.
But by the rabbis of Babylon. Okay? The Parsha readings were developed by rabbis. The natural flow of the text is there's no markings breaking the text.
Right.
So it's just like if you were to get an original text that has no markings, it would just naturally flow. It would just be an endless sentence.
Now, how would you explain the elongated letters and or the psalmic?
Okay, so those, which psalmic are you
The
talking about?
psalmics that break up portions of scripture.
Okay, so those psalmics and even the pays, because there's pays as well.
I think so.
Yeah, there's psalmics, there's pays. Those basically refers to sentences and paragraphs.
Okay.
That's why the psalmics are there. That's why the pays are there. Open paragraphs, open sentences in a Torah scroll. And then the elongated, those are the traditions. Because the thing was, is they wanted the text to look a certain way. Now, that's the scribal traditions. Because in different places, you've got different elongated letters.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay, that's cool.
Yeah, so though it depends on where the scroll is from.
So, I suppose Ashkenazi as opposed to Sephardic.
Anywhere in the world. If you go to Africa, you go to Asia.
Really?
Yeah, it's a scribal
cool.
tradition.
That's cool.
Yeah. And even when you start talking about like the dots and the elongated letters, different scribal, depending on where the scroll is coming from, they can have different traditions on those.
Oh, how cool.
Even the crowns on the letters.
How cool.
The crownings can be different too.
Nice to know.
Yeah. So this is the thing that you need to understand about a Torah scroll, is that what we break it into, it was done that way so that we could study it. It's not native to the text. The only thing that is God inspired is the text, not the numbers, not the chapters, not the verses. Just the text. Okay? Make sense? Okay. I actually talked to a trained scribe about this, and like on my website, on each parsha, I tell you how many words, how many Hebrew words, how many lines, and he actually told me that is all based on the tradition of where the scroll came from. So that's where I got an actual trained scribe told me this.
That's cool.
Yeah, so even on my website, even though I say this is 157 lines, that's just from the tradition of the Ashkenazi, because that's the only place I could find that information. Okay? So, this Torah portion is actually 4 stories. Okay? The first story is the story of creation. The second story is the story of the Garden of Eden. The third story, let me see. I don't want to tell you wrong. Hold on. The third story is the story of Cain and Abel. And then the fourth story is literally the book of the history of Adam. This is where you begin to get the genealogy from. But I will tell you that as each one transitions, it refers to the last chapter, the last story. So Cain's story actually connects to the garden.
Well, that's kind of like every Torah book. They all start with a vav.
Yeah.
So they're all and.
It's connected.
Sure.
It's connected. Okay? We tend not to really look at the Garden of Eden. We talk more about the fall of man than we talk about the Garden of Eden. But the text is literally about the Garden of Eden, not the fall of man. In fact, original sin is not a scriptural concept.
Right.
It is a Christian doctrine.
Catholic.
Catholics are Christians.
Mm-hmm.
All Christian.
Catholics are
Did
Catholic.
anybody do their homework? No. What was the homework?
That was just good.
Let me see.
The homework is what translation? I told you that America was founded on what translation? The Geneva Bible. Who translated to the Geneva Bible?
Oh, yes, the one that the king killed?
Who translated it?
You said it. A king, right?
No.
No,
So-
before,
So you're saying the Puritans were using the
The
Geneva Bible?
Yes.
Really?
Yes, they use the Geneva Bible. And so our Constitution is founded on the principles of the Geneva
The
Bible.
Geneva Bible translation.
Nation.
Some of those guys knew a little Hebrew.
Yes.
Some.
You gotta look that up, guys. I'm not gonna do your homework for you. It's a simple answer.
I'm with you, bro.
Okay? I will tell you this, that people will say that America is a Christian country. No, America is a Protestant country. Because the Geneva Bible came from the Protestants. The original word Protestant is Protestant. Protestant. Protesting against who? The Catholic Church, the Church of England. So Protestant literally means Protestant.
Yep.
Interesting fact, has nothing to do with this, but our founding fathers, in their writings, their writings was not concerned about should we have our own country or could we have our own country. Their real debate was, should we rebel against England and start our own country? Because they realized that by rebelling, that the core of America would then be rebellion.
And it's true.
This has nothing to do with our Torah portion. Let me give it there.
But it's fact.
It is fact.
Definitely fact.
Throughout the ages, Genesis chapter 1 through Genesis 2-3 has been studied by two groups of people, the wise people and mystics. This tends not to be something that people are interested in studying. What people tend to be more interested in is in the Garden of Eden. Okay, in the story of Eden. Tonight I want to focus on the story of Eden, but I do want to share a couple of things about creation before we go into it. The natural break of the text is the days. Day 1, day 2, or actually the way it reads is Yom Echad, day 1. It's not first day, it's day 1. And then thereafter it becomes cardinal numbers, second day, third day, fourth day, fifth day. And very interestingly, each division, each day has a theme to it.
Yep.
Okay? And through the whole text, the theme of the whole text is the number 7.
instruction.
The day of rest. And interestingly enough, Daniel, look, when you have a moment, I want you to look at the first 3 verses of chapter 2, the first 3 verses, and count how many Hebrew words are there.
Sure.
And remember, hyphenated words are 2 words, not 1.
Half a what?
A hyphenated word is 2 words.
A hyphenated word.
Yes.
Are you talking about in English or in
In
Hebrew?
Hebrew. I'm talking about Hebrew.
Let me do the Hebrew for you. I'll count.
Okay, while he does that, I need someone to count it in English, whatever translation you have. I want you to count the words. In English, the first 3 verses of chapter 2.
So hyphenated equals 1?
2.
Okay.
And we do, hey Google, hey Google.
And the hyphenations don't exist in the Torah scroll.
No.
I don't think so. Okay. Somebody want to write down?
Just count it.
Well, 5 for the first verse.
So that's 5. So while Daniel's doing that, we'll write it on the board.
14 for the second verse.
Okay.
I've still got an 8
One.
going.
Verse 1 is 5. Verse 2 is 14. Verse 3.
I count 16 and a pay at the end.
Okay, the pay, is it a bolded pay? We're not
Well,
counting.
they're just a small. I mean, my text. I can't tell you if it's. There's
Yeah,
a
it's
pay
not worth it.
as in a breakup.
So how many letters?
Oh, letters?
I mean, how many words?
That's 35.
Okay, 35. What times what gives you 35?
7 times 5.
This deals with the day of rest. 7 times 35. 7 times 5
Ooh,
is
wait.
35.
3 and 5 is, if you did the gematria, that would be 8.
Which is the day of
equals
rest.
Yeah, right.
Now,
Well, it's the after.
I know,
But
I know.
I hear you. It's a reference.
The
Here-
Kabbalah.
here's the other thing.
All right.
Here's the other thing. Is when you look at this, somebody read these 3 verses and count the number word 7. The word 7.
Thus the heavens and the earth were finished, and all the host of them. On the 7th day ended the work which he had made, and he rested on the 7th day from all his work that he had made. And God blessed the 7th day and sanctified it, because in it he had rested from all the work that God created and made.
So how many times is 3? This is another number of this text. The number 3. So 7, 3, and 10 are literally the theme of Genesis 1.
Continue.
3, 7, and 10.
3, 7, and 10.
2 of them are prime.
Okay? So when we look at this text, okay, let's look at how it's structured. Okay? When we look at its structure, we see, like I told you, your text may break it. Did anyone count the English? How many?
14 in 1, 28 in 2, 25 in the third verse,
14, 28.
and 25.
So you can see that this theme is broken when you translate it.
So what's the new theme?
That's just it. It's untranslatable in English.
The theme is untranslatable?
Yes, because the theme is numbers.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
The theme is numbers.
Can I add something to that? I'm going to use bereshit 1:1 as an example to complement that.
I'm not there yet. I'm going to back up.
I'm
to
just
it.
going to use the number thing.
Yeah, I am too.
But,
Go ahead,
He
Daniel.
hasn't taught it yet. That's what
oh,
he's
well,
trying to
okay,
do.
no. In Hebrew, it's 7 words. In English, it's 10 words.
Yes.
So the point I would like to make on this is that, do you all see how much extra work we have to do by reading in English as opposed to thinking and reading in Hebrew? Just by the volume and additional possibilities of confusion that exist?
Also, any translation of any book into another language becomes a commentary.
Exactly.
So your English translation is not God's inspired word. It's
Right.
a commentary.
Right,
Don't matter what you read.
that's right.
Daniel, go to chapter 1, verse 2.
Yes, sir.
Count the Hebrew words there.
Yes, sir. Aye, sir.
Okay, so verse 1, Daniel already brought it out. There are 7 words there.
You want the Hebrew?
No, in Hebrew it's 7.
Yeah, bereshit bara Elohim et hashamayim ve'et
Other
ha'aretz.
words, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Okay,
words.
so you want the Hebrew count?
Yes, of course.
Okay, well,
Why would I have you do English? Daniel, do you Hebrew guy?
Well, these people can do Hebrew too. They can count words.
On the leg.
That's orale.
On the leg. He's learning some Spanish things.
Okay, verse 2. How many words is in verse
14.
14?
Ooh, I'm liking the pattern.
Double.
Double. 7 times?
7. 7 times 2.
2.
7 times 2 gives you 14.
Did you get 7 times 2?
I had it.
Okay? Let's read day 1. Let's read day 1. Who wants to read?
In the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep, and the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the
Verse
water.
1.
All the way, the whole chapter?
No, just day 1.
Just day 1.
Day 1. So you're looking
And
at,
God called light day, and, okay, well, no, verse 4. And God saw light, and that it was good, and God divided the light from the darkness, and God called the light day, and the darkness he called night, and the evening and the morning were the first day.
okay, I'm just giving you this as a point of reference. This is not what I'm teaching. I'm just giving you a point of reference. All right? Okay. Now, when you look at day 1, okay, the first day, in verses 1, 2, and 3, you have a word that appears 7 times.
1, 2, and 3.
Yes. What word is this?
Day 1.
Thresh. Excuse me. Excuse me. Olive. Vav. Thresh.
No.
In those 3 verses, light appears 7 times in Hebrew.
Or
What?
The word or,
it's like
I mess it
I
up.
know, or, light, appears 7 times in the first 3 verses.
Day 1. It appears.
Day 1. Read it in English and see how many times it appears.
I'm working on it.
Come on, somebody read it in English and count it for me. First 3 verses.
I just see it 2 times.
Exactly.
1, 2, 3.
But you're saying or is there
7 times.
in?
In Hebrew.
I'm working on it.
Start at verse 2.
I'm working on it. I'm
1,
working the
2,
Hebrew.
3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Because you also have the word yom. And yom is counted in that count. So light or day. Yom. So you
We'll
include.
always see Aleph Vav Resh twice in here.
No. 1, 2. So in verse 3. 1, 2, 3. The 4th word, which is a hyphenated word. See it?
The 4th word is not hyphenated.
Should be.
No, the last word. or
We're talking about
last-
verse 2.
the
verse-
4th word.
1, 2, 3. Excuse me. Yes.
Vav Beit Haf. Hey Vav.
No, it's Yod, Hey, Vav, hyphenated, and then you got
The 4th word is verse 2 in Hebrew.
1, 2, 3. 3rd word.
That's a Tav, a Hey, and a Vav in verse 2.
No.
the third
Rabbi,
word.
you want to be a tiebreaker on this?
The third word is tohu, and it's itav, hey, and vav.
Tav, Hey, and Vav.
That's the third word.
3rd word, verse
1,
2.
2.
That are
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
We know.
Okay. So, here. Yod, Hey, Vav, Yod,
I love you,
Yod.
Scottie. You know that.
Yeah, Yod, Hey, Yod, and then it's Aleph, Vav, Resh. There's your first appearance of it.
In verse 2?
Yes. The last two words. Look at the last two words of verse 2.
The last two words is Penei Hamayim.
Oh, you know what? I'm looking at verse 3. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I know. You're not looking at verse 2.
Verse 3.
Verse 3.
Yes.
The he or. I get that.
Okay, it's there 3 times. Or is there 3 times?
In verse
Verse
3,
three,
In verse
there's only
3.
two.
I just see it 2.
Vayomer Elohim Yeh or Vihi or. Twice.
Twice.
Yes, twice. Now go to verse 4.
Okay, now we go to verse 4. Let's
It's
see.
twice in 2, you're correct. Or twice in 3,
So there's 1,
2.
2.
Look at
There's
verse
only twice in verse
2.
4.
Verse two.
Okay. 4. 1, 2. You're correct.
What are we looking for? 4?
Or.
No, we're like now.
Now you want to go to verse 5. The word or is
There's
there
only
too.
one.
It's there once,
Once.
and then you got Yom, right?
Yeah.
So you count or and Yom, good light, and it's there. It's 7 words.
Okay, well if you want to
Seven
do
times.
that, I can
Yeah.
play with that.
Okay. So light appears with Yom, making this 7 appearances. So the theme of the first day is 7.
First day is 7.
The first day is 7,
I'll run with it.
and the theme of the first verse is what he created, light, order.
So that takes it to verse 14. Yeah, I'm not going to go there. I'll let you do that.
Okay.
No, verse 4 is the first mention of light. Well, I mean,
No.
no, I mean, not the mention, but where it's a different light. Like, it's not the light of the sun, let's put it that way.
Yeah, but
Right.
we're not talking about that.
Yeah, we're not going there, I know.
Okay, so second day. Let's read second day. What does it say? In English.
I don't have much stuff. I'm
When
not
the
done
earth
yet.
was astonishingly empty, with darkness upon the surface of the deep.
No, verse 6.
Verse 6?
Yes, 6 through 8. We're looking at day 2.
Okay. God said, let there be a firmament in the midst of the waters, and let it separate between water and water. So God made the firmament and separated between the waters which were beneath the firmament and the waters which were above the firmament. And it was so. God called to the firmament heaven, and there was evening and there was morning, a second day.
The truth of the matter is we don't know what the firmament is. Now, let me stop here.
Well, that's the Rakia thing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me stop here.
What's a rakia?
It's a Hebrew
It's a
word.
Hebrew word for firmament.
Let me explain this. When we are talking Torah, okay? It answers philosophical questions, but it's not philosophy.
Right.
It answers questions of science, but Torah is not a book of science.
Yep.
Okay? So when you start hearing someone say, oh, science teaches this and confirms this, they're modern teachers. The point that I'm trying to get you to is to understand this in the original context. Without our modern translation of what it means. What did the original recipients of this text understand this text to say? Interesting question,
That's
isn't
a
it?
great question.
Here's another one. And I had this discussion with Yoel Hamlevi from Israel. If Moses were to come back today and begin to speak to us, unless Hashem gave us an understanding, there is no one that would understand the Hebrew that he spoke. We don't know what it sounds like.
Has it
Really?
changed?
We don't know.
Probably.
We don't know what it sounds like.
This,
So the argument over the proper enunciation is an argument of tradition. Where are you from? Bereshit can be said as bereshit, bereshit, bereshit. It can be said a number of different ways. And guess what?
Right.
All of them are right.
Right.
Because it depends on where that person is from.
That's right.
It's just like in English today. My wife hates it when I do this. Roof.
Stop it.
That's the sound of a dog. No, if you go to Boston, a roof is the structure
It's a
over the
roof.
house.
Where-
It depends on where you're from.
Where are my khakis?
Exactly. Pants,
Oh, trousers?
trousers,
Car keys. Not pants, car keys. Khakis.
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 It depends, and Hebrew is exactly the same way. It's exactly, even in Israel, you had dialects. The way they spoke it in the north was different from the way they spoke it in the south. So the bottom line is today we don't know the proper enunciation or the original enunciation. And here's the things. We have no scrolls, no text of signatures, which means that it's written by the author's hands. We have nothing written in Moses' handwriting. So we have no clue. So you can sit here and debate and say, oh, he wrote in Paleo-Hebrew. How do you know that? Paleo-Hebrew is the oldest Hebrew we know of.
Right? You know, having said everything that you just said, that has helped me with being more gracious with people of different dialects.
Yes.
However, there's still meanings that are attributed to words that we wouldn't attribute here as somebody would in South Texas. And I use the example of a taco in South Texas could be a flour tortilla with a stuffing in it, where a taco here would be generally a corn tortilla.
Yeah.
Down there, a taco is anything that's food. It's just a meal. Let's have a taco.
Yeah.
And that word equals food.
See? And we actually see this take place in Kings. In Kings, we actually see that the guards used a certain word to see if the people were from the north or the south. Because how they enunciated, how they enunciated it was completely different.
Is that in Kings or is that in Judges? I think it's in Judges.
I think you're right.
I think it's in Judges. Yeah. They could say this the shin.
Yeah, they couldn't say the shin.
Yeah.
And
That's a
that's an
great
interesting
story.
conversation
That's
in
a great
itself.
story.
The shin itself is an interesting story
Sure.
too.
this, I don't know. Well, water is supposed to represent also chaos.
No, that's what we mean. We make it mean.
Okay.
Remember, I said I'm going to take you back to its original meaning.
Well, no, it's just, well, it's talking about water, is it because the firmament wasn't very strong because, I don't know what.
Now notice on day two. Notice
Yeah,
on
there's
day
something
two.
there that-
Notice on day two, it doesn't say that the day was good.
Yes, that's the only one, right?
It's the only day that. Now, however,
Chaos is not.
good day, or very good. When you count the word good,
Tov.
tov, you count tov through this text, it appears 7 times.
Interesting. So it's Tov in one of the verses? I don't remember.
Yes. Tov, tov.
Can I add something to that?
Sure.
So the word Tov, we translate it, we hear it as the word good.
Yeah.
Probably the best definition that I've heard on this is the word Tov means it's functioning according to design. Not necessarily that it's good. This food is good. Well, yeah, this was correctly made for you. They may not be correctly made for me.
Yeah.
But it still nourishes our body.
So
Anyway, that's just an example.
Yeah.
But Tov, to be deeply defined as good, is very weak. Very
Yeah.
weak definition.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
But anything like that, you know, Hebrew is good.
Yeah, I know. I love it. Yeah.
So when we look at this, we see that the number
Clear.
7, and I'm just showing you. Okay? Now, Daniel asked me, do you know that this is a poem? It is an epic poem. We know that for a fact. Okay, let me ask you this. Was each creation act 24 hours or 1,000 years?
Undetermined.
Really? Psalms 90 verse 4.
I don't know.
I'll say 1,000.
You say 1,000?
Yeah, because that, what?
Psalms 90 verse 4.
Turn to the verse and read it.
I don't know.
Not a 24-hour.
Turn to the verse and read it. Psalms 90.
Verse 4.
I think it was
You're
ours.
confusing me.
I think it was ours.
Here's the thing is, okay, there's some things I should have said before I got into all of this. When we're studying Genesis and we're studying this text, here's the thing, okay? Torah, the 5 books of Moses, is the pinnacle of revelation. No matter what anybody tells you, it is the pinnacle of revelation.
Backwards.
Well, it's giving you more than you could ever imagine.
No, everything, some people will say it's the root of all revelation,
I can live with that.
okay? But the truth is nobody else received revelation from God like Moses did. How did he receive it? Panay to panay. Nobody else has ever done that. So, and I'm laying the foundation for what I'm going to teach in the garden. Okay? The prophets, their revelation is not the same as Moses's. So you can't use the prophets to interpret Moses.
I can live with that.
Because Moses is the original revelation.
So Moses is the root, the prophets are trunk or branches.
Prophets are actually the oddity.
The oddity?
You had 3 authorities in Israel. What were the 3 authorities?
Judges,
King,
Priest,
priests,
prophets.
prophets. The only time the prophet came on the scene is when there had to be brought correction to the king and priests. So they're the oddity. They're not the standard. You don't use Isaiah and Ezekiel to understand Genesis.
Scotty,
Yes.
where was the verse in
94, Psalms 94.
Verse 4.
you gonna read it?
That's it. For 1,000 years in thy straight, in thy sight, are but as yesterday, when it is past, and as a watch in the night.
1,000 years is as
In your sight.
In your sight, in your
In your
eyes.
sight.
no, read it again.
1,000 years in thy sight are but as yesterday, when it is past, and as a watch in the night.
So what is that phrase? Bethany.
A watch.
No, what is that phrase? 1,000 years is, it's a simile, people.
A simile?
It's a comparison.
Sure.
It's not saying it is like. It is as yesterday. It's not saying it is yesterday.
Read.
Like a watch.
Or like,
No, this is Hebrew.
No. Well, I'm going to go to now the other verse that says, "A day with the Lord is as 1,000 is
Is as.
I get that. So again, I don't know that it's a 24-hour day. I don't know that it's a 1,000-year day.
Here's the point.
that's the thing.
Here's the point. You can
We don't
believe
know.
what you ever want. You want, because actually speaking, day is used in both contexts.
Sure, I agree.
Day is used as a 24-hour period, and it's included as an era. But
Sure.
what's an era?
1,000 years.
Not necessarily.
Well, I agree with that. But it's a
Not
big, it's a
necessar-
long period of
It's a
time.
period of time.
A long period of time.
Okay? Because like right now in our country, we are in the era of President Biden.
Right.
We just came out of the era of President Trump. That's 4 years.
Yeah, I can live with that.
Okay? So the truth of the matter is you can't determine scripturally whether it's 24 hours or 1,000 days or 1,000
Now you
years.
give me an ERROR of Biden, right?
Huh?
ERROR of Biden.
Error.
The era of that.
Just thought I, do some wordplay
Okay.
here.
The thing is that every proof text that everybody uses to say that it's 1,000 years, it's a comparison to. It's not saying it is. It didn't say a day is 1,000 years unto the Lord. It says it is as is. So what the reference really to is the purview of where God sits versus where
Sure.
we sit.
Sure.
That's the real text. It's not arguing 1,000 year. So believe what you want to. Doesn't matter. The text will not prove it.
Well, do you disagree with the 7-day plan of God? Millennium's 1,000 years. It's a Sabbath.
But see, that's all based on this.
Again.
Again.
It fits.
It
in
fits.
a
But
lot
here's
of
the thing.
ways.
You can argue it either way. The reason people started arguing the 1,000 years, if you go back to teaching, the reason it came around was, no, it came around because evolution started. And Bible teachers had to combat evolution. And the way they combated it was saying, oh, it's 1,000 years.
But that would be relatively a modern idea. And
Exactly.
I understand that this has existed in Judaism a lot longer than the concept of evolution.
No. Judaism has been shaped by evolution. The teaching in Judaism has been shaped by evolution. Because it was the rabbis that presented it.
Well, yeah, I do agree with that.
Yes.
But I thought it was older than that, from what I understand.
Not from what I've studied.
Rabbi,
So
any
is it
comments?
24 or
I'm
1,000?
sorry?
Any comments on that one?
Well, I would like to say on the 1,000 years. When the serpent was cursed, Eve was cursed, and I said in the teachings past that Adam was not cursed,
Yes.
that the earth was cursed, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Ooh, that's heavy.
God said that He was going to punish Adam, that He was going to let him live one day of God's time.
But that's not what Torah says.
Hold on, run with it.
Let me finish.
Okay.
Then Adam saw in the future that Melech was going to die.
Some years, yes.
That was going to die right after birth. And he told God, he says, Father, if you're going to let me live one day, deduct 70 years from my time span and give it to David, Melech David. So Adam actually lived 930
Yes.
years. Okay? So, what you're saying, I agree, but there are points that I need to say, okay, I'm going to go back and study it myself for your point of view, where you're coming from.
Mm-hmm.
This is Gematria. If y'all don't understand the numerical value, this is Gematria. This is why it's so important to study the numbers.
Amen.
Because if you would do it like Scottie said, 7 and 3, if you do a triangle with threes,
Okay.
okay, and you just keep adding to the lower to the base, it's going to be a perfect triangle.
But what Rabbi just taught comes from where? Where does it come from?
Well, it comes from the sages.
Mishnah, Talmud.
Mishnah and Talmud.
Sure.
Mishnah and Talmud is just a commentary on
But it's
Torah.
still 2,000, 3,000 years old is our point. So great minds have been looking at this forever and a day, greater than
Exactly.
you and me together.
Exactly.
So we can take a look at it and incorporate it, either accept, reject. I get that.
Okay, listen to what I'm saying.
Go ahead.
What did I say at the very beginning? I want to know what the original authors or the original audience
We all
thought.
do.
Exactly. You think that they were concerned about 24 hours or 1,000 years? No,
Maybe
it
not.
wasn't addressed.
Maybe not.
It wasn't addressed.
In that verse.
Now here's the point. The reason we know that it's a poem is how it's written.
Okay. But
And hold on then. And the word day is a marker that indicates exactly what you were saying that good means. It means that act is finished. That's exactly in poetry what it means. When you're studying poetry, it's not the same as
Yeah.
studying. I'm studying this as
As
poetry. not as a narrative.
So when Kefa comes back and studies the same verse as a mathematical equation, we're going to have a totally different.
No, because
Or
what you're,
not. Actually, we won't.
no, because
And
here's the bottom
Go ahead.
line. Listen to what I'm saying. I brought this up and you're saying it's gematria. No, this is simple math.
Which is, the word math is
It's gematria. I know, Daniel, but what I'm saying is that even in the ancient world, gematria as we study it today is not the same gematria they had.
Different concept. I agree.
Different, a totally different concept.
True.
Let me add.
Remember this. Also, why would it be a poem? Because before Moses wrote it down, how was it passed from generation to generation?
Storytelling at night by the fire.
Exactly. So there had to be some cues to tie it together.
Sure.
So as a poem, if it is rhythmic in your language, will you remember it?
Yes, like a song.
Yes.
It's a song, yeah, right.
Well, but can't.
But see, in Hebrew, it's not like English or any other language. It's not about rhythm in the sense of that the sound is
Right,
rhythmatic, like we understand it.
We got soul in this room.
Yeah, that's not exactly what this rhythm is. The rhythm of Genesis 1 is 7.
Interesting.
So if a person is telling the story and they miss it, they know that they've broken the story. It's a memorization method. That's what this gematria is. It's not giving you deeper insights of 3, 8, 7, all of that. That came later.
It was extrapolated. My only question at this point, you reference verse 90, verse 4 Psalms. He mentions that a watch in the night. A watch, not 2 watches, not 3 watches, not 4 watches. So, what do we know today? I understand there's either a 3 4-hour watches or 4 3-hour watches.
I understand it as 3 4-hour watches.
So I don't know. So where does that change? Can change?
Yeah, I understand it as 3 or 4 3-hour
And
watches.
those hour watches aren't necessarily 60 minutes either.
No.
It's all based on the time of year.
Well, here's something that's interesting, okay? Let me take you to something. Genesis 1. I just wanted to point this out. This is not even what I want to teach you.
You've been saying that for the past 3 hours.
I know.
That's
Okay?
the first. That's the intro. That's the intro to the intro.
Yeah. This is the warm-up,
Time and distance.
okay?
Are you confused, Laura?
Time and distance.
No.
Okay, here's something that's interesting. I'll show you. Okay? This is real quick. I taught this a couple of years ago. My daughter and wife will know this.
It never happens.
But let me show you something. I want you to write this down. I want you to draw this. This is the natural literary flow of the text. Okay?
8 hays, huh?
1. Day. 2. Day. 3. Okay? Day. 4.
Oh yeah. I know where you're going with this.
5. Day. 6.
Right.
And then
7.
Shabbat.
Right.
If you actually look at it, what was created on the first day?
Like,
Let's get down to day 4 and see what was created. And don't you tell me sun, moon, and stars. Read the text. Yes. It says luminaries. We translate that to sun,
Well,
moon.
let's
Wait.
I'm gonna go to
We-
Hebrew.
It actually says luminaries. It's translated as
Well, that's
luminaries.
English.
No, read it. Okay, luminaries.
Verse 5, right?
No, day 4.
15.
Day 4.
Day 4 starts where?
Verse 14.
Yeah, verse 14.
So read it.
God said, let there be luminaries in the firmament of the heavens to separate between the day and night.
Okay, so the Hebrew is me'orot.
Yes.
You're using the word luminaries.
Yes, but my point is that people will say it's sun, moon, and stars. That became later. To the ancients, it wouldn't have been known as sun, moon, and stars. It would have just been all
Well, it
the
was
set.
all of them, a whole set. I can live with that.
It's all.
Me-
Now,
me'orot.
as we read the verse, God begins to name it. Look at the verse.
Me'orot rakia.
Read it. Read it.
Well, I will. Okay, that's fine.
Okay.
Hold on. Vayomer Elohim
Lights.
yiyeh me'orot berakia hashamayim.
Okay.
That's pretty
Mom
clear.
brought up another point. You can
That's-
translate it as lights. My point is sun, moon, stars is not used.
It's not. Yeah, I hear what you're saying.
You see, it's
Just
lights.
Cause I love that verse because at the end of the verse, that's where we talk about Sabbaths, festivals, and
Hold on, I'm getting there.
repetition.
Day 2. What's day 2? Firmament.
Firmament.
Yeah, you finish that. No, back. I'll be right back.
Okay. Now, day 2 and 3, literally wise, runs together, and you have to read the 2 days together to see the pattern of 7 continue. Okay. Same way with day 5 and 6. Day 5, what is created? Let's get down. Go to day 5.
Living creatures.
Okay. What?
Living creatures.
Living creatures.
And the fowls of the air.
Okay, so it says living creatures. It specifically says fowls of the air. What else?
The great sea giants.
The sea animals, sea creatures. Okay. Anything else?
The winged fowl.
Tilapia.
Okay. Now stop. It says, now go back to day 2 and read day 2. What does day 2 say?
God said, let there be a firmament in the midst of the waters, and let it separate between water and water.
Okay.
So he created what lived in the water below and the waters above.
Above. That's why we don't know really what firmament means.
Space.
Yeah, we can translate it whatever we want, but the bottom line is we really don't know what it means. Because when in day 5 comes, he creates flying creatures and creatures of the sea. Day 3, what does he create?
Let the waters beneath the heavens be gathered into one area, and the dry land.
Land. Okay. Day 6, what does he create?
Us.
Man.
No.
Not yet. He creates something before man.
Us. What time?
He does create man.
The creatures,
The
cows,
beast.
the cows.
The
The
beast.
beast of the land.
The beast of the land. So everything deals with land.
Land.
So literally, he created space in the first 3 days, and he filled those spaces in day 4, 5, and 6. Here's the thing that's interesting, is that, you ready? Go back to day 5 and read how he describes the sea creatures.
Flying.
Sea creatures.
Creatures don't fly.
And God created the great sea giants and every
In the
living
water?
being that creeps, with which the waters,
The water is what?
with which the waters
There's swarms in
teemed.
the water.
Teemed. It says teemed. Okay, this is very important because when he tells man to multiply, he tells them to multiply like fish. And every time mankind is talked about increasing, it's always like fish. Because fish multiply faster
Why?
because they lay eggs. A single fish can have 300, 400 fish. So when he tells man to, in Hebrew, it actually ties back to this teeming of fish. Men are supposed to be like fish in their procreation.
Oh my.
Not like any land animal. but like fish. What do fish produce from? What are they born from?
Eggs.
What are humans born from?
Eggs. Sperm.
Eggs.
Oh my God.
Well, you're not wrong, Beth.
Bethany, you're only 14, girl.
So, day 1, 2, and 3, God
I'll check the
creates.
video on that one.
Day 1, 2, and 3, God creates the space. But 4, 5, and 6, He creates the items that fit into.
He makes
The
a
space.
Does he make?
Now, Daniel, this comes back to modern translation of this.
Let's see, where are you gonna go?
Okay? What is above
Ooh, ooh,
beneath.
ooh, I love it. That's beautiful. What land is
This is a modern translation. This is not what the originals understood, but this is what we understand it as today. This is where we pull it from.
Yeah, but
Because
land
on the
doesn't
sixth
work.
day, man and land animals was created. What was created on the third day? Land. Firmament, water, air, space. What was created? The living creatures in the air, the living creatures in the water. Light, luminaries, giving light. You have the fulfillment of it. Space, and then the filling of that space. Now, the question is how on day 3 do you have plants when there's no luminaries?
Seeds.
No.
plants.
Because all plants need to exist is light. And we had that in the first day. This,
It's not a solar.
no, it's not. But then it can't be a solar plant either as we know it.
Well, exactly. It's a book of miracles.
Exactly.
I mean, I
Yeah,
get that.
this is why Genesis 1 is studied by the wise. Because it digs into this.
Hookman.
Yes.
Is he like creating like a home for the thing?
You could say it like that. Yeah.
Like he's
The space, he created light, and then he filled it with luminaries.
Okay.
He created firmament, which that space is water and air, as we understand it.
So for the birds and the fish.
The birds and the fish. Land. Where did Adam come from?
From the land.
Dust of the ground.
Oh.
Land.
He created a space for us to live. Land.
He created the space, and then he filled the space. Okay? This principle over here is a spiritual principle that we understand today, but that doesn't mean the ancients understood it that way.
So
They
the light,
understood this. Yes.
so the light is God, not so much the sun, but his
I don't want to
light.
get into the or. That's a whole study.
But is it?
That's a whole study unto itself.
Oh,
And for you to think that God is only light, that's a misnomer.
Oh, then it's not true.
Okay? Any questions on this? You want to take a break?
Yes.
Let's take a break. Well, you already went outside and did your thing. You already been on break talking about so soon. When we get back, we'll talk about Eden.
Peace.
What's up, Gloria?
Eden.
No.
Like Adam and Eve.
You said Eve?
Eden. Yeah, I definitely Eden.
You did, huh?
Yes.
You finally ate.
I
You
finally
eaten.
I have eaten.
You all see the SpaceX
Yes,
pictures?
but this is later development. The Torah doesn't teach that. It just teaches Shabbat.
See
Nancy
SpaceX?
told us-
Did anybody see SpaceX here in El Paso the other night?
Nancy said that people here was able to see that.
Yep.
The what? The rocket from Vandenberg?
Yep. I saw it
Because there's a difference
We
between
were actually flying around just here around El Paso, and we saw this weird thing. I'd never seen it before. Well, I mean, there's variations of it.
proper.
Yes,
is
we saw
eating.
that, and we were like, "What in the world is that?"
And all the days.
So it must have already
Now
gone
you're
below the
getting
horizon. We still had this
proper.
residual trail,
Right.
and we were like, "What?"
This is a race
And we figured out it's space. Now we know what it looks like.
Probably
So it's-
with,
it happens often enough. So
I've seen
Probably with,
rockets go up like that when I was a
15
kid.
Comes up
It
on
did
day
that.
two. What happens in day two?
Um,
Why is
Because
it
it was, must have been
If
pretty
they want
good
to try to
size
miss
to
it,
bring up
all of this
What
stuff.
happens in
a
day two?
satellite.
You see, and that's why I'm saying that
But
Genesis 1.
they usually
really
shut
and
them
truly,
up
there's no
over
form
to
of
the
law.
ocean, but now they shut it out.
That's what I was gonna
It's-
teach him.
But
See,
those
why,
cases are-
why did the Lord send the flood in Noah's generation?
Noah's generation.
Why?
How you liking your new
Well,
job,
what
Dan?
I read,
I don't have a new job.
what I read
Well,
was
job
that
for
there was
the plane.
still.
I don't have a new job. I thought
There's
so
so much
too.
chaos going on in that
Benjamin.
It got
generation.
crazy.
He needed us to get to a place.
Well,
Okay,
where we're
I
gonna
flew
go
it,
to
I
a
flew
market
two jets.
in ourselves.
When you have chaos, it's caused by
Okay.
one word,
That doesn't
three
mean
letters.
I got you.
I don't have a job.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's complicated. We had a political
I
fallout
know I
Okay.
saw
with
sin,
one
yes,
particular
that's right.
That's why
operation.
he just read it.
Okay,
We took away, when you go,
So you
read
know how that
read
goes.
Genesis 6.
yes,
Yeah, and I did read it, but I did read it and I'll read it again, but
Genesis 6:6.
I know, but I know there was a lot of chaos.
So what happened day 2?
No, he brought in,
That's what I was studying
he brought
because,
in the flood.
see,
Yes, that's what
I studied Noah, I can teach you Noah right now for you guys, but day 2 is very important.
And that's
Because the flood came because of man's hardness. It took only 10 generations for man to screw up everything they got created.
and not someone to argue
10
with.
generations.
When I was reading Noah, I got all that, because the Lord brought up chaos.
Instead of getting
And there
him
was so
trying
much
to keep
chaos in
something
there.
See, on day 2, during day 1 and day 2, that's when Satan
That's why it's
sinned
so hard.
and he was cast
He
out.
was cast down.
Got it.
Oh my gosh, there's so much.
Quiero otra spray con hielito y
Sí, señor, ¿qué más?
una lamb chop, mashed
Right
potato
here.
or roasted
I told
potato.
you, did you want to go get it?
Un poquito de elote. Me gustó el elote, no.
Where it is.
Frío.
Are you cold, Shalom?
It's nice.
Grandma, are you gonna touch on some Noah?
Depends if the teacher gives me a chance. I mean, he's got the floor. I mean, if I teach now, we'll be here at midnight. So it's such a big deal.
We don't work tomorrow.
I love it.
There's beds, there's blankets, there's couches.
How many bedrooms do you usually have?
Oh, wait, Cameron.
Go get some.
Or
You got a good house.